Hey there YouTube, it's Sir Daniel 1975, and I'm back here with a computer build that I'll be doing. And this computer build isn't for me because I already have a good working computer. This is for the Retromantic, and this was a project that we had planned a while back. And so anyway, this is the computer that had died. However, there's some new parts that were in here that will be taken out. That will go towards the new build. Intended for that to have actually happened, so that's all planned. So anyway, let's. So I have to take the power source out of here because this power source is relatively brand new, and there's a fan in here that's brand new that I got to use. And then I'm going to take the DVD drive out, and we're going to use that for installing Windows on this. Which this doesn't have a port slot for the DVD drive, but we're going to jury rig it, or at least I'm going to jury rig it to get it installed. So anyway, what did we do to upgrade? Well, we have a AMD Ryzen 5 processor here. This is it's the 3600. It's a 6-core processor, 12 cores. It's the equivalent of an i7 of the same category. And we have an AMD a Asus or Asus board. It's the Tuff B450 Pro gaming motherboard. Okay, mine is a Prime 350. Okay, so this is an upgrade from even what mine is. So this is a really good motherboard to get as far as doing a budget gaming build. And let's see what else we got here. This was a gift from a friend of ours, originally for me, and I ended up using, something else, upgraded to a newer graphics card. But this is a EVGA or EVGA, however that's pronounced, GeForce GTX 760. It's an older card, but it's still a really good card. She took immaculate care of it, and I only used it for a while myself. I mean, it's like brand new, even though it's out of the box. But so that will be the graphics card that we use. The graphics card that in here is a joke. It's a low profile one. There's some low profile cards that are okay, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So hang tight here. And when I come back, we'll be cracking this sucker open right here to pull out the parts that we need. Alright, so this is the inside of the old PC. So what we'll be salvaging out of this will be this power source here, which I don't remember the power wattage that we picked up. I think it was either 500 or 600 watts, which will be good to just start out with what we're doing. Someday down the road, we'll even upgrade that to a higher wattage. We need to take out this fan that I put here. We'll probably reuse this fan. This was a fan I put in. Alarmingly enough, there was no fans in this computer before, except for the one over the top of the processor. And this is an old Dell computer. I found that extremely alarming. So anyway, taking that out, and we've got to take one of these DVD drives out, and which there's 2 of them here, by the way. So stay tuned. So anyway, this fan I put in here, it didn't have proper grill spot for a fan, so I had to kind of just use 2 of the grill openings that were available for it. And anyway, I mean, it's a small fan. This isn't one of the bigger ones, but we're going to try and reuse this fan in the other build as well, just so that we have an extra fan for cooling in there. And let's see here. So the next thing to do is to take out the power. So anyway, the other thing was when we updated this power, the connections were of the current type size, and I had to get a converter for the old size to fit into this motherboard. That's how old this motherboard was. We knew this computer was going to die at some point. It just died a little sooner than we had hoped. So anyway, take some more of these power cords out, things, so that we can see what we're doing. Yeah, of course these old motherboards, they're not made in these old cases. They're just, they're terrible. In fact, this case is all, I mean, sure, steel is really good, but it's heavy as you can possibly imagine. Additionally, you can't run wires in a nice neat way in here, so you end up just kind of bundling them up as best as you can and hoping for the best. So that's kind of where we're at, we were at with this, and I think I've just got everything unplugged with the power, yes. And so let's take that power out. Let me take the screws from that fan and stick them in there. And I'm going to put the power source screws in there too. And they're different size screws. You cannot mess them up. And I have more screws in case I lose any or a screw doesn't work. The other thing is this case, the power source didn't entirely fit it right. One of the holes for the screws didn't line up with the case. So I think I'd put just 2 or 3 screws in instead of all 4. Anyway, there we go. And that should be it. It did kind of snap in here a certain way. Let's see. There we go. Let's start to come loose. I might have to turn this video off and finagle this out. Oh, I see. There's a little button here. There we go. Alright, so that's it. Oh, good, yeah, we got a 600 watt one, so that's better. Yeah, I shall get more use out of that than I thought. That'll probably last her a few years. So I got the power source out, and I got the fan out. And so now it's time to take out one of these disk drives so that we can install Windows on the new hard drive, which incidentally I forgot to show the hard drive in the last clip, and that hard drive is a solid state drive. It's a 500 gigabyte one. It's not the largest you can get, but it'll be good. Okay, I figured out how to get, actually I ended up taking both drives out. They had to slide out the front. Had to take this face plate off. So I forgot that some of these old ones work that way. So actually I think even the new ones, it's the same way. You got to slide it in from the front. But there we go. We got 2 fully functional DVD drives there that are stripped out of here. Perhaps we'll get to use them for something else down the road. Alright, YouTube, if you are watching, well, obviously you're watching, but you might notice there's a change here. There's going to be some clips that are way edited out because I ended up having to use a different case, and it was my bad, and it's very embarrassing that it's my bad. I should not have made that kind of bad, but the the motherboard was too big for the other case. And literally this case is just 1.5 inches bigger, and it actually fits in with clearance. So there's not, a lot I can say about that. This is an older case. It's not going to breathe as well, but I'm going to make some modifications. So, alright, so this was a fan, this little Cooler Master fan, which I got for her other case, which will fit in here just right. It's a perfect size for that fitting. I stripped from a processor an old AMD fan, and I'm going to put that in here too. I'm going to jury rig it so there's 2 fans for sucking air out. On the side, there are 2 holes, 2 sets of openings. And I'm going to put those fans there, even though these holes are too small, but it's still going to suck in some air, and that's what you want to do, blow in some air. So I'm going to have to drill some holes in this, which is not a problem. And I've also got these rubber washers, which will raise this just enough so that when the fan, so if I don't do that, when the fan runs over this, you see it's hitting parts of the metal. You raise it and it doesn't do that, so that's going to be for safety, and then it'll be from there. So this is going to be the hardest part of doing this, basically modifying this case. So all I'm going to really do is like center the fan where I want it, and I'm going to take a marker and mark in the holes where I want to drill, and then I'm going to go drill. Alright, YouTube, I have essentially got those fans installed on this side panel. So I was off on one screw, but that's understandable. That kind of thing happens. So I will move forward and I will start putting the motherboard together and then put the motherboard in. Alright, YouTube, I'm going to now put the processor on. And this is an AMD Ryzen processor. And you got to look at the directions because it tells you where to put. You can't just lay it in any old way, even though it's square. But it comes with this little gold corner right there, and it needs to go in a specific spot. And I just had it out. I'm going to pull that out so that it is explainable. So there's this little locking arm here. I don't know if this is on screen, but anyway, that locking arm. So from where the locking arm sticks up diagonally across is where the gold corner has to go. So that's over here. So you just set it down, and it usually goes in there very comfortably. And then you just lock this in place. And that's it. And it's in there. So, that's actually pretty simple. And then the next bit is you got to put some thermal paste here. And then we put the cooling fan over the top here. I might actually have to remove these before we do that. Okay, I know it's up on the high part of the screen here. Let me make a little bit of room, bring this in a little bit more. So, that's the processor. Here's the thermal paste. And I'm just going to squeeze it on. And that looks about good. Don't need to go too crazy with it. Like I said, there's already a little bit of thermal paste on the bottom of the cooling fan, the grill that goes with the cooling fan with it. So, in order to not make a mess, I'm just going to actually spread. It came with a little bit of a like a spreader here for this. So, I'm going to do that and kind of make it look neat. Sometimes it's been known to be good to take after a while, to actually remove this fan and add more thermal paste, because it does wear out over time. Okay, so I'm hoping that this is screwing down right. I remember on my last computer build. Okay, there we go. I had some difficulty getting this down, but mostly because I added it after I had put the motherboard in the case, and that made it kind of difficult. Okay, I'm having a trouble with a screw here. Let me stop the recording, and I need to figure out why that's not going in. All right, the motherboard, the processor and its fan are installed in the on the motherboard, and now I'm going to put the RAM in, which is done on alternating slots. And I'm not sure if it's picked up on camera, but they are color coded. So two are black and two are gray. So it's kind of weird, but the first RAM slot is actually the second one. And don't ask me to explain that, but that's the way that it is. Is that the way it goes right there? Yeah, okay, I was putting it in right. Yeah. And then you push it in real good. Make sure it's really seated well. And then the next one is the fourth slot. So if you're only going to put one in, it goes in the second slot. If you're going to put two in, it's the second and the fourth. And then if you're going to do any more, then you got to do the other two. You can't do three, if I remember correctly. It'll imbalance the RAM. And of course you want to do the same capacity and speed of RAM in each slot. That can imbalance the system too. So there you go. That's in there. So the next bit is to, well, before I do that, I want to figure out which slot I'm supposed to plug that fan into, because I'm seeing what looks like 4 fan plugs, and I don't want to just plug it into the wrong one. The computer can sense it if you put it into the wrong one, and it's empty, and it won't, and the computer will not turn on. So I'll be back after I've done that, and then I will be installing it into the case. Alright, I'm about to put this piece in before I put the motherboard into its spot. So let me see how this is going to go in. This is going to want to go in the other way first, from the inside. And it's just one of those things that it snaps in. Okay. Now I can lay the motherboard into position. Where it's going to get screwed in. Okay. And just a little behind the scenes stuff. I spent a lot of time finding the right raised nuts and screws so that the screws that I had would fit them. So, because the ones that I have the most of, they don't actually screw into the actual case. They're not threaded the same. So I did have some that were black, and I saved them, and have to use them on this. So I will start by this one is the furthest one off. And just go around and then screw the motherboard into place. So when I come back, that'll be done, and I'll be putting in the power source. All right, real quick, I am going to screw in the power source. I've done plugged up some other cables that go to the motherboard as well. Namely the stuff that goes in with the power, the front USB, and all that stuff. And so far, everything's going pretty good. Plugging in the power pieces to that can be tricky, because the print is really small on the motherboard is what goes into what, and it wasn't really detailed in the directions. So this is one of those cases where it pays to have some kind of practice at doing this. So, and probably going to take a break from videoing for a little bit, and I'll start putting just some things in, and then I'll come back. Actually, my camera is low on, which is my phone. Actually, I'm using my phone for this. Is low on battery. So when I come back, I'll have hooked up some more things. All right, the meat and potatoes of the system are together. So I did a lot since the last clip. So it's a challenging case to use, because it's not like the current cases, which the rack that the motherboard is on is lifted a little bit higher so that you can, and there's inserts for running cables, and it's just not enough room to really do that, especially with the thickness of like these power cables and stuff. They just won't run underneath like that. So and the other thing is where these cables for the graphics card come up, where I had planned on having that other fan in the lid. The fan was right on top of that, and it wouldn't shut, so I had to take that fan out. So there's only going to be one fan in here. So well, there's this fan and that fan, but it's just one fan blowing in. So there's not really a place to do that properly here in the front. That would be great if there was. You'd get some air blowing across, which would be great. But it's not really built that way to have it. So this is a temporary case. This is because the case that I made a boo-boo that I ordered was too small. The motherboard was too big to fit into it. So obviously we're going to update this case to a better case, and then we can throw in all these fancy fans that we have. So let's actually start putting the sides on. So, and this is one of those cases where I actually do not like the way these well, that one actually went on a lot better than before, so I'm contributing to the cause, these nice little case screws, because you can actually turn them with your fingers. You don't even really need to use a screwdriver. So, except one problem is the one down here. Is that? Yep, that's the right size. Okay. Thought it was too small. So that side's on. And now this one's tricky because let me show you how I did this. So that's what I did with the fan, and I've got it taped in here so the cable doesn't fall into the fan above the processor, because then we could have probably have a fire. So it's taped up there. It's also I've shortened it with the cable ties, and I've done similar things with this. I've used the Velcro wraps so that when I put this together, it's not a big stress. Oh, that's the wrong one. Is it the right one? Where's the right one? Where'd it go? There it is. We use this one. There we go. And just tuck it there. And then stick it in. There we go. Put together. So it'll have 2 disk drives for now. So this was my old case that was from my computer at work, which that computer died. But there was a theory. I'm hoping it's not the problem. The computer techs, because we ended up just giving it to computer techs to fix. They said it's possible the power switch might have been bad. I'm hoping that's not the case. But anyway, because they couldn't find anything wrong on the motherboard or the processor or anything else, or the hard drive. But there we go. So there's that fan. I wish I could have had that other fan here, but like I said, the graphics card in there was too close to it. So. But everything's in there. Everything, for the most part, fits. There is a solid state drive in there. It's 500 gigabyte. And so the next thing to do will be to turn her on and to try and install the BIOS for the motherboard, and then install the Windows. Okay, this has been the computer build from hell, but anyway, I finally got to a point to where I can install Windows, and it's installing, so it's going to be fine now. But in another clip, I'll explain it later. But I've had some issues with the solid state drive that I had, so I had to reformat it and everything this morning, and it took literally all day for this program to wipe it and reformat it. So anyway, this has been the longest build of a PC forever. I've never had to do one where it took almost 2 full days. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So anyway, but all's good now, and I'll talk to you later after things are all together. Okay, time to rotate everything from this case into this case. I'm just about finished stripping this case. Last thing I'm getting out of here is this motherboard, and then I can go from there, and then I'll start working on putting things into the new case. Well, she's all put together. What do you think?
Woo!
Well, that's the response we wanted. So, you've used it before already, though, because we had it in the wrong case.
Yes.
And it was still really fast, right?
Yes.
And
editing is now a breeze.
Yes, which is exactly what you needed.
Which has never been before.
Right. Now, the other thing that's great is that this case came with a bunch of fans, and I put 2 more in there. It's got 6 fans in there, so it's got a lot of cooling features to it. So it should keep everything from overheating. So all that extra crazy editing that you do shouldn't stress the system too much. So.
And the side is made of tempered glass.
Right.
You can see all the cool colors and stuff inside when it's
hooked
up.
We're going to go put it downstairs and turn it on, and so you can see all the colors. All right.
And I'm hiding from the camera because I'm in my pajamas with no makeup, so you're only going to hear my voice today.
That's fine. All right. All right, what do you think?
Ooh, ah.
Yeah. Let's get a nice look on the inside there.
It's so high tech.
It is. It's almost too high tech for the Retromantic.
No, I'm good with it.
So, yeah, as you see, it's up and running. And notice how quiet it is. Those fans, all those fans are very quiet, which is nice. Because if I have a fan on one computer that is so noisy, it's annoying. So, anyway, there you go. And I think, let me try this. I think this is the button. Nope. Oh, anyway, we have to read the manual. There's a button that will cause the fan colors to change. So, we'll fool that later. At some point, I brought down the manual for you. So, are you happy?
Good job, Sir Daniel.
Thank you.
Very much.
All right. A successful computer build. Woohoo!